My name is Stephanie Caljo, and I'm a dietitian with HESCO Elder Services. So I'm just here to talk a little bit about nutrition food labels. They can be pretty confusing, and I know a lot of us do our own grocery shopping. We buy our own products, so it's really important to know what we're getting in the store and understanding the nutrition food label. So the first thing I'm going to start going over is how to read a nutrition food label. The first thing you really want to look at is the serving size. So that's really important because you need to know how much is in that container you're eating. Because sometimes we get a whole pint of ice cream, right? Like say the Ben & Jerry's pint of ice cream. We might think that's a full serving for one person, but it's actually maybe 4 servings in there, right? Or exactly, or a bag of chips. Those are the big things you want to think about. There's more than one serving in a lot of things. Even some of the frozen meals, sometimes they're more than one. So you really got to look at those things and see how many servings are in one. So right at the top, it will say the number of servings. Right on that blue sheet, it says serving size is 1 egg for this one. So that's the nutrition serving size for that. And then right under that, it says how many calories. Calories are always going to be in big, bold print. So that's really easy to find. Calories is something that I think most of us are familiar with when looking at a nutrition food label. The big thing is, say if you're having more than 1 serving, you want to multiply the amount of calories that you're having. So if you're having 2 servings of that, if 1 serving 60 calories, 2 servings would be 120 calories. So you're eating quite a bit more than you were originally, right? That's more important when you're eating something that's maybe 500 calories for a serving. And then if you're having 2 servings, it's 1,000 calories right there. That's a lot. So it's just something to be mindful of. So I'm sure most of you are familiar with the next panel on the nutrition food label. So it's basically telling you what is in there. So what are you limiting? Are you looking at your added sugars? Are you looking at your sodium? Are you trying to find how much fiber you have? Are you trying to look at how many carbohydrates are in there? Is there anything in particular any of you guys are monitoring or watching?
Saturated fats.
Saturated fats. Cholesterol, okay. Sodium, that's awesome. Sugar, yeah, that's an important one. And the
I'm on a non-nutritional diet.
Non-nutritional diet.
Yeah, I just got out of the hospital with diverticulitis.
Yep, so you're on a low fiber diet, they might say. Yep. So that's very different than what you might have been following before. But they'll slowly get you back to a normal diet. They're pretty good about that. But the big thing with any of those categories is you really want to be watchful. So in the fat category, we really want to limit our saturated and our trans fats. Those are really important to watch. Those are the ones that have been associated with coronary artery disease and any heart-related illness. But polyunsaturated and monounsaturated, those are good fats. And those are fats that we want in our diet. Those are things that are found in like olive oil, canola oil, nuts, things like that. So those are the good fats that you want in your diet. And then cholesterol, some of you said you're watching cholesterol too, which is good. Sodium is really important. Sodium is something that I think is very hard to limit in processed foods because they add so much to it. So it's really good to be looking at that panel and seeing how much sodium is in a serving size, especially for things like soups or frozen meals. Sodium can be really high in those, or canned goods. Total carbohydrates. Those are really important too. So carbs, 1 serving size of carb is about 15 grams. So say if you see on there that there's 30 grams of carbohydrates or 45 grams of carbohydrates, that's 3 servings of carbs in there, in that one product and 1 serving size. So one candy bar could have 45 grams of carbs, and that's 3 servings of carbs in that one candy bar. So that's kind of something you want to be watchful of, because that's quite a bit. Protein is also really important. Is anyone monitoring their protein in here? Trying to get a little bit more protein in their diet? So I would say when you're looking at frozen meals, that's important to look at. You want to make sure you're getting a good amount of protein if you're replacing a meal with that frozen meal, okay? And then the next category in the panel is basically the nutrients you might be trying to add into your diet. If anyone's watching their iron or their potassium, or maybe they're trying to add some zinc into their diet. That if they have good sources of that, that will be listed right into the nutrition food label. So is anyone watching anything like that? Adding calcium? Does anyone need a high calcium diet or anything? That's something you want to be watching. Vitamin D. That's really important, and that can be kind of hard to get into your diet through food. So most people have to take a supplement, especially in New England when we don't have too much sunlight. I know.
I still take 5,000 a day. I take 5,000.
But on the nutrition food label, you'll see the percentages right next to the list right here, and that's based on a 2,000 calorie diet. So if you were to eat 2,000 calories a day, that's how much of that product would be at your daily percentage. So this only has 2% of your daily value for calcium. So that's not much calcium for the day. You would need 98% more of what your daily value is than what's put in this product. So it's something to be mindful of, and it's actually not all of us might be eating 2,000 calories, but it's a good picture, kind of gives us a standing point there. Another thing that you want to be careful of is you want to read the ingredient list on a product also, because sometimes it will say there's 0 trans fat in something, and we really want to watch our trans fat intake. But if it's listed that there's partially hydrogenated oil in the ingredient list, it's because there was less than 0.5 milligrams of trans fat in there. So they were saying that there's 0, but if you were to have more than 1 serving, you could actually be getting quite a bit of trans fat in there. And it's something to just know and be aware of, so always look at your ingredient list too. And do we know who makes the nutrition food labels, who regulates these? Yep, the FDA, the Federal Drug Administration. And they basically have gotten much stricter with the guidelines that they're using now. So they used to say the things that people could put on nutrition fact labels weren't that strict. They could put that this food is healthy, and it really wasn't that healthy. But now they have much stricter guidelines that they have to go by. So we're going to go over a little bit of what each thing means on a product. So this is just good to know in case you're following a low sodium diet, a low carb diet, trying to watch your calories, trying to have more calories. These are good terms to know that are on cans that are FDA approved and are basically what is regulating the food industry. So if you were to say something is reduced on something, that means it contains 25% or less of that nutrient or calories. So anything that says reduced on its container. Low sodium is 140 milligrams or less. So say if you see a product that is low sodium, it's going to have a lot less salt in it, and you need to know that it's 140 milligrams or less. So most people on a low sodium diet could get that. Very low sodium is 35 milligrams or less. It's very low, like it's saying. And it's basically anyone who's really watching their salt intake with CHF or hypertension, that's really good to follow. And for your meats, a lot of people nowadays are buying lean meat or extra lean. Lean meat is when there's 10 grams of fat. Extra lean is when there's 5 grams of fat. Any food that contains diet means it's low in calorie or reduced calorie. Low calorie means there's 40 calories or less per serving. So if you're having a low calorie snack, there has to be 40 calories or less for them to say that. Reduced calorie contains 25% or fewer calories. Fat-free is half the grams of fat or less per serving. Low fat is 3 grams or less. Calorie-free means there has to be less than 5 calories. So that's actually has to be calorie-free, pretty negligible in calories, 5 calories. Sugar-free contains less than half a gram of sugar. An excellent source needs to provide at least 20% of your daily value. So if something says it's an excellent source of calcium, there needs to be at least 20% of calcium of your daily value in there, okay? If a food says it's healthy now, it needs to be really strict facts that it is low in fat, low in saturated fat, low in cholesterol, and low in sodium. Anything that's light has a third of fewer calories than the regular product. Yeah, go for it.
And the fat content is 2% milk and whole milk.
2% milk and whole milk. So there is a bit of a difference. So the fat goes down by the percentage. So if you want the lesser fat, you go fat-free, skim,
Right.
and then 1%, and then 2%, and then the full fat. So 2% is a much better choice.
If you're limiting your fat content.
Yes.
It would be skim milk,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But
Sometimes that one is
2% in whole milk is almost the same fat content,
2% is better for you.
yeah.
I think whole milk is 3% fat.
Yeah, it is. So whole milk is a little bit higher.
Well, 3% to 2%.
Yeah, it's not an awful lot.
Not a lot of difference.
It doesn't sound like a lot, but in the long run, it does make a little bit of a difference. So if you're having milk every day, it kind of does make a difference on your diet and your heart. It's a good thing to know because I think 2% milk is still kind of has a taste of whole milk, but
Right.
is a little bit healthier. So it's not a bad choice to ever do.
Hood Smart makes, the milk is, I get the 0%, so it's skim milk, but it tastes like,
Whole
it tastes
milk.
like 2%.
Yeah,
It really does.
and
And the 1% tastes like whole milk, and it's very flavorful.
so that's a great recommendation. What brand is it?
Hood,
Simply Smart.
Simply Smart.
Simply Smart.
Yeah.
So she's saying Simply Smart makes a 1% milk that tastes a lot like whole milk if that's a flavor that you really
Skim
enjoy.
milk does taste like 2%.
Does it?
Does.
That's so
I've been
funny.
drinking it for
Yeah,
years.
me too.
I'm gonna have to
I
try it.
wish I could get it in quart size
You
instead
can,
of
you,
the half.
oh, half gallon, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I drink at least that a week.
Oh, okay,
And then just to go over a little bit of the next page that we have here. Yeah,
Before you leave that page,
yeah, of course.
here where it says fact versus fiction at the bottom there.
Yeah.
It talks about, it says fiber linked to certain cancers and fruits and vegetables linked. Are those things, those claims that
So that's the
are
one I'm
unsubstantiated or are those?
I'm gonna go over those right now. Okay. So basically now, anything that's making a health claim on their food label has to be true. So there has to be specific science that proves it, and these ones are actually true. So calcium is linked to osteoporosis in the meaning that high calcium foods help prevent osteoporosis, okay? Calcium is a really good for bone health, and it's very important to have in our diet. So getting calcium, making sure you have a good amount in your diet, especially as we age, we're at risk for osteoporosis and osteopenia. It's really important to have it. Sodium is linked with high blood pressure, which I'm sure we all know. So that's something else a lot of people, if something says it's reduced in sodium, that means they can say that their product helps prevent high blood pressure because they have a lower sodium product than what's out there. Dietary fats are linked with certain cancers. So a high fat diet can sometimes cause cancer, they have proven in studies. So that's something that they're trying to, that they can put in their nutrition food label. If they have a low fat one, such as, so they want to avoid the saturated fat and the cholesterol. That's linked with coronary artery disease also. And then fiber has actually proven to be supportive in fighting cancer, so that's something that they're saying is beneficial. So fruits and vegetables, those are good. Yep. And then fruits and vegetables linked with certain cancers, same thought process there, okay? They're good, they help. They think there's studies that prove there's phytochemicals in them that help fight cancer.
So it's opposite, the last two are opposite.
Yes.
Okay.
And then basically the little bottom there that says current label versus new label, I have a big version of that. So the FDA regulated that that the nutrition food label will change to basically have the calories much bigger than they were before. They have the total sugars that are added in here. So it has total sugars, but it also includes the added sugars there too. So
And
the,
and this, in the question here, it says, how much added sugars? And it says here is 5 grams of sugar.
Yeah.
Is that it? Is that the answer?
yes.
So not added.
Nope. So the new nutrition food label is still being put out today. So they still haven't put it out everywhere. So they're just starting to put this one out. And that's a good thing to know because some places they're actually putting the serving size, but they're also putting the full product serving size too. So say like a pint of ice cream, like I was saying, they'll put a serving size, but they'll also put for the whole pint what's in there. So if you are eating the full serving size, you know what you're actually getting into your diet. And they're being more aware that people are over consuming and they're eating more, so at least you're aware of what's going into your body. But yeah, that is all I have so far. Does anyone have any questions for me about anything in particular?
Do you recommend supplements like calcium and vitamins?
Yeah, so the question was, do I recommend supplements like calcium and vitamins? I don't think it really hurts to ever take a multivitamin unless your doctor says so. That way you're covering your bases and you're getting all your vitamins and nutrients in your diet without worrying about your daily intake. But I also think that most vitamins, such as vitamin D, vitamin C, you should always check with your doctor first too before starting something. Just because sometimes there's counterindications with any other medications you might be on.
I was told that gummy vitamins, that isn't good for you.
So the gummy,
Breakdown.
yeah. So it's not that they're not good for you, but that you don't absorb them as well. So basically when we take a gummy vitamin, we're eating them and then they're not being absorbed much like a pill, or I think some people do the sublingual ones too that work, but
Would they contain more sugar?
they do have a little more sugar too. But I think the more important part is that your body's not getting the nutrients from it that you would wish it would. So you're much more beneficial taking a pill or a chewable.
The pill, what?
For a vitamin, instead of the gummy vitamins, we're saying that the chewable or the pill are better forms because you absorb them better.
Chewable is not good.
A chewable is okay, but a gummy is not good.
I
No.
think
Like a Tums, yeah, it melts your mouth, you don't swallow it. Yeah. A gummy is the.
some of those pills are so big, they're
Yeah.
hard to swallow.
Yeah, some pills are very big. So if you're taking a vitamin that's big, try to find one that works for you, okay?
The other hint is to take it with, if you can tolerate apple sauce, Jell-O,
Pudding
put the pill in to swallow.
makes it a little bit easier when it's something to glide it down for. So she's saying to add pudding or Jell-O or applesauce to make it a little smoother when you swallow your pills.
What is that?
Just in order to swallow a large pill, if you could put it in like a teaspoon of applesauce, or Jell-O, or pudding, anything that's soft that you can swallow it easy. Yeah.
All right, everyone.
It's stuck right here. It's like,
Right.
I know it's tough. Especially when you're taking a few different
I
medications.
take the gummy. Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't want to do the gummy. So maybe a chewable would be good for you, not the gummy. Okay?
okay. And also, are you familiar with those? The V-active calcium plus vitamin D, that like a little caramel, they're wrapped.
I don't think so.
It's foil wrapped caramels.
Yeah,
What's in them?
It's
It's
vitamin.
calcium.
Calcium?
It's a calcium.
calcium plus vitamin D.
I'd have to look into that. What is it? Did your doctor tell you to take that one, or?
They're on the
Well,
market.
she knows I take it.
Yeah.
I don't think she told me.
Okay.
It's on the market, they're on the market. I used to take them, but they're quite expensive.
Yeah, okay.
It's, you
They're
chew
cheaper
it,
in
it
PJs.
looks like a piece of candy. It tastes
Gotcha.
like a piece of candy. So
It's
there's,
like a caramel. It's
Yeah.
wrapped like a caramel.
I'll have to look into that one. I'm not too familiar with it, so I'll have to look into it for you, okay?
but surely it's gotta have sugar in it too. It's gotta have a lot of sugar.
I don't worry about that too much.
I don't blame you.
Anything else?
Frozen entrees
Yeah.
in comparison to cooking from scratch,
Mm-hmm.
loaded with preservatives.
They have quite a bit of preservatives, so I think the best thing to do is go to the nutrition label, try to make sure it has less than 500 milligrams if you're watching your sodium, okay?
Right.
It's a good rule of thumb to have.
Just don't buy them.
Sometimes they're a good substitute if you need it in a quick,
Right,
but-
right, but a lot of people feel it's easier to have a frozen entree and bothering to kind of cook something
but they have a lot of salt in them a lot of the
They're
times.
loaded with preservatives.
There are some that are lower in sodium, but you really got to make sure to read the nutrition food label on there, because sometimes when they're taking out the calories to make it a little bit healthier, they're adding sodium in. Yeah. So that's really important to watch. Frozen food has quite a frozen meals, not frozen like vegetables or anything like that. Those are fine, but frozen meals are something you want to really be careful with the sodium intake, okay?
And the other thing is substitute sugar.
Oh,
Like,
that's a good question.
They're all right for somebody that's diabetic, but it's not a good idea for people to take it like to control their weight.
So
Aspartame, Slender.
a lot of people use
Slender
stevia
Roll,
nowadays.
Any of those.
I don't know if you guys have heard of stevia yet, but it tastes a little bit more natural. It's a little bit less sweet than the other ones. The thing about artificial sweeteners is that everyone tolerates them differently. So they could upset some people's GI, like their stomach, but other people, they tolerate them just fine. So it's kind of person to person.
Sweet and low can also cause irritation of the bladder and kidney system
Yeah.
if you're taking it on a daily basis.
So it's,
And aspartame causes a rush.
I think the big thing there is moderation and just not overdoing it with any of that, especially if you're finding that you yourself are not having good side effects from that, okay? It's important. So if you're feeling that your stomach's upset by something, avoid it, okay?
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Do away with diet drinks.
Diet drink.
Coke is one of the worst things you could drink.
All right, everyone. It was a pleasure to talk to you all. I'm sure I'll be back in a couple months talking about something new, but enjoy your lunch now, okay?
You can tell us this again in a couple of months.
Thank you for your time.